Hello, and welcome to another edition of the Numbers of Thoth. This video tells the story of Napoleon's invasion of Egypt and how it led to the birth of modern Egyptology. It features illustrations from the first Encyclopedia of Ancient Egypt published in 1809. And because this year it is the bicentenary of the decipherment of the Rosetta Stone, we will cover that too. Few historical episodes are as colorfully documented as Napoleon's 1798 invasion of Egypt. Not only did Napoleon's expedition unleash a wave of archaeological discovery, it also came to be seen as a symbol of Western power and cultural supremacy. Napoleon Bonaparte's 1798 invasion of Egypt was one of the most important events in the history of modern Egyptology. The expedition, which was part of Napoleon's attempt to secure French control of the Middle East, resulted in the discovery and mapping of countless ancient Egyptian sites, and the preservation of countless ancient artifacts. The impact of Napoleon's expedition on Egyptology cannot be overestimated. The French expedition to Egypt. In 1798, Napoleon Bonaparte led a French expedition to Egypt to gain control of the strategically important country and to spread the benefits of France's revolution to the people of Egypt. As an adjunct to the military campaign, 151 savants accompanied the emperor. These men were the leading artists, scientists, astronomers, engineers, naturalists, physicists, doctors, chemists, botanists, poets, and musicologists of their day. Their task was to classify everything, map the land, find water, and befriend the country's leaders. It was a task they completed with tremendous skill and enthusiasm. Upon their return, these savants produced a 23-volume encyclopedia of their findings entitled The Description of Egypt. This work went through two editions. The first, the Imperial edition published in 1809, ordered by Napoleon. The second, known as the Pankowk edition, was published in 1820, under the auspices of Louis XVIII. The typographical quality of the texts and the beauty of engravings make the Description of Egypt an exceptional work which is still an invaluable asset to Egyptologists. The Rosetta Stone. The Rosetta Stone is one of the most important discoveries in the field of archaeology. Although accounts of the stone's discovery are vague, the story most generally accepted is that it was found by accident on July 15, 1799, by the French pioneer officer Pierre-François-Xavier Bouchard. Bouchard was the commander of a team of soldiers digging the foundations for a fort near the town of Rashid in the Nile Delta. The stone itself is a large fragment of a broken and discarded stela that had been reused to build the wall of a granary. Bouchard saw the inscriptions and saved the rock for the savants. It was immediately transferred to the Institut National, in Cairo, where it stayed until the end of the war. From a military point of view, the expedition was a disaster. When the British defeated the French in the Battle of Alexandria in 1801, the British General John Healy Hutchinson allowed the French army safe passage back to France in British ships on the condition that the French general in charge, General Maynew, signed over the priceless hoard of Egyptian antiquities Napoleon's savants had collected. So, the Rashid or Rosetta Stone passed to the British as one of the spoils of war and was sent to the British Museum in London. The discovery of the Rosetta Stone was a major breakthrough in the field of archaeology, and it continues to be one of the most important discoveries of all time. The hieroglyphs on the stone were inscribed in 3 scripts, including ancient Greek, which scholars were able to read. The key to deciphering the stone was the fact that it was inscribed with the exact same text in 3 ancient Egyptian languages: Ancient Greek, a script called Demotic, a kind of cursive handwritten form of spoken ancient Egyptian, and finally, in hieroglyphics, the sacred language of the gods. The text itself is a relatively inconsequential decree dating to Ptolemy V. Being fluent in ancient Greek, Champollion was able to look for correspondences between the Egyptian signs and the Greek words. Importantly, what Champollion would realize, unlike his rivals in the race to translate hieroglyphs, the Englishman Thomas Young and the Swede Johann David Åkerblad, is that hieroglyphic writing is neither wholly pictographic nor alphabetical. Hieroglyphic writing is a combination of both with its own syntax and grammar. He never saw the original stone because it was in London. Instead, He used paper copies sent to him by the British Museum. With his new insight, Champollion found the inscriptions on the stone were part of a priestly decree. The inscriptions on the stone allowed scholars to finally decipher the hieroglyphs, which had been used by the ancient Egyptians for over 3,000 years. The decipherment of the hieroglyphs was a major breakthrough in our understanding of ancient Egyptian culture and history. The legacy of Napoleon's invasion of Egypt and its gift to Egyptology. In 1798, Napoleon Bonaparte led a military expedition to Egypt in an attempt to gain control of the country. The campaign was a disaster and ended in Napoleon's defeat and withdrawal from Egypt. However, the invasion had a lasting impact on both Egypt and France. In Egypt, the invasion led to the rise of a new class of Egyptian intellectuals who were exposed to French ideas and culture. These intellectuals went on to play a major role in the Egyptian independence movement. In France, the expedition was viewed as a failure and led to a decline in Napoleon's popularity. The French campaign in Egypt, which lasted for 3 years between 1798 and 1801, contributed significantly to the development of the fascinating field of study that allows us to glimpse into a world that is vastly different from our own. Since then, Egyptology has grown into a highly respected field, with contributions from many different disciplines thanks to the work of Napoleon's savants and Jean-François Champollion. The ancient Egyptians are one of the most intriguing and mysterious civilizations in history. For thousands of years, they built huge pyramids, temples and statues, and created intricate hieroglyphs that have still not been fully deciphered. Today, Egyptian Egyptologists still view their mysterious land as a kind of mirror in which they recognize themselves. They connect with its very long cultural memory, a memory inspired by landscapes, ancient words or expressions, particular artifacts, traditions and fantasies. There is still much to learn about this ancient civilization, and modern archaeologists and historians are constantly making new discoveries. Despite the military failure, the legacy of Napoleon's invasion of Egypt continues today, but not quite in the way the great general had once imagined. If you have enjoyed this film and want to know more about Jean-François Champollion and how he cracked reading hieroglyphics, we have a new ebook on the subject. It is a great way to learn about the man and the beginnings of modern Egyptology. The book is full of useful information and is available for a small fee to support our work. Details of how to buy it appear in the notes on this page. To stay in touch, don't forget to subscribe. Until next time, goodbye.